Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Guys, wait, what the hell? What happened to my camera? It was working before. Oh my gosh. Wait, hold on a second. Did the battery die or something? Oh my gosh. Hold on. No, it's just deciding to not work for whatever reason. Hold on. I will be right back. Oh, this is so dumb. Oh, but wait, I'm over here. Why am I not over here? What? What the what? Does it have something to do with the filters? I'm so confused. Well, hey. How you guys doing? Let's go look at the charts, eh? Eh? What a freaking day. Okay. I'm already late, so you know, whatever. Not very professional. Hey, so they really wanted the treasuries really wanted to get to 1.75 interest rate. Nice round number. They're there. I don't know. This was kind of like a finally time to face the music sort of moment in the treasuries. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a reversal now after that, because can we just go straight to 2? I'm not so sure we can. S&P 500, after they got the FOMC minutes and they really it was a real disaster, right? And oil also just getting slammed from it, but here in the overnight just soaring higher, like almost to $80. Can you believe we were trying to get in at 65? Would have been good. Would have been a good $15,000. Oh well. NG Happer. No, gold. Oh, okay. Interesting. So gold took a little bit of a hit yesterday, but now it's really getting hit this morning. My morning reading did not were saying that it was doing okay. And copper actually getting hit as well. And then we got to come back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin taking another little drop yesterday. Nothing too crazy yet, but it's starting to look a little scary. We get down to like 40,000 rather, 40K, and I think that we could have another flush, because there's some big fish in from there. And of course the dollar still looking pretty strong above 96. So that's where we're kind of at. Sorry I'm late. I just lost my train of thought. Oh yes, the unemployment numbers were nothing to, not really a very big deal. So that's where we at. Let's see here. Powell got me good. Nobody to, well, I did warn you guys, didn't, and especially on TikTok, that I thought the FOMC minutes could be a lot more important than people were anticipating. Who do they think they are? I think it's so funny. Like, I've been sitting here telling people for like what, almost 4 or 5 months now, like, that this was gonna happen, and now they're like, "Oh, why didn't anybody tell me?" Okay, guys. It's like, we shouldn't correct sharply, but like that, but then it does. But that's the whole thing is like when there's an informational inefficiency and the whole market gets caught off sides on it, and then all of the sudden has to realize that you know what was happening, it hits hard. It hits hard. So what do you think is wrong with my freaking? Oh, that is so weird. What do you think is wrong with my camera here? Why does it work over here? And also, why does this one filters? So I have a crop on that, but that's not. Oh, that's kind of weird too. Guys, this is so weird. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come over here. We're gonna go to the filters, and I'm going to remove the crop. I'm gonna remove the crop. Remove crop / pad. Close. Actually, no. I'm gonna do this. I'm going to remove the camera from the scene, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna go to video source, video capture device. And I'm going to add existing Sony a7 IV. That is so weird. That did not help at all. And then I'm going to go to reset transform. I can't even find it. What's going on? I don't understand. What the what? Still works over here, right? Oh, that is so weird. That's so weird. And like, here's the thing: is the crop is not working. That must be where we screwed things up. Because when I come over here, okay, there's the LUT. And if we add the crop and we do 200 pixels on both of these. Da, 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 da. No, I actually don't even need, that's probably too much. Huh. Kind of weird. How did I, 140? 120. Okay. So cropping it 120 each side. Seems weird. What do you guys think of how I changed the screen? Yeah. I was looking at it and I was like, actually, you know what will be the most interesting chart to them? The jigsaw chart. So I put the jigsaw chart up there and I put the dollar chart down over here. Not bad. Treasuries are covering it a little bit. By the way, I just want to know, I took after those meeting minutes, I took 2 contracts off at 30. It's gotten a little bit further, so I wish I had only taken 1 contract off there. Then maybe I'd take another one off here, but it doesn't matter. I don't think it's a big deal. I am concerned about some washback now. So here's the next big like battle. Okay, The assumption is that they are going to raise interest rates immediately after the taper completes in March. I am not convinced that that is the case. And the big wild card here is that we are getting like, so China has completely shut down a province, for instance. There's in Europe, there's quite a bit of drama going on over restrictions and things like that. So if there is going to be an economic impact from Omicron, and I do think that it would be limited, and I do think that one of the big upside risks is that it will cause more inflation, but it could also have an economic impact. And so there is a chance, I think, but I think there's a higher chance than the market is pricing in, at least, that they're not going to be able to taper in March, that they're going to want to wait until May, June. So right now they're pricing like 80% chance that it happens. And I don't think that it needs to come back like a ton, but I think that probably more like 60-70% is appropriate. But that all depends very much on what we get tomorrow, right? So I don't know. What is this one right here? Oh, that's weird. Remove. Don't need that. Okay. So it is. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Ah. Ooh. Now we're getting somewhere. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, it's doing that because it's just not there. Okay. So the problem here is, so hold on, you need to, okay. So the problem here is that this one shouldn't even be here. Remove means I'm going to disappear there. Okay. And this one should be, here's camera new one. Um, hmm. Okay, what if we do it this way? Um, uh, rename. Hi. Gonna take that off. so that now when we come back to here, remove that. Okay. Okay. And then there's something about the way OBS works with this. I don't understand. Bear with me here, folks. I'm gonna figure it out. Put them into a group. Okay. So group selected items. And then I will put the filter on here. 120, 120. Good. Oh, but now that's wrong. 200. Oh, no. 100. 100. 90 and 90 maybe. Okay, sure. There we go. Is that better? Yeah, so now I'm going to have to make sure this stinger thing
Derivatives
works.
trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. I feel like the intro. Okay, so first we're gonna remove that. Okay. I think we're good. I think I've fixed it all. So stressful. I know, right? It's like, what the heck? So remove that too. I'm a little weirded out by how the camera down in the bottom is like didn't resize it correctly. Like I had it at 120 pixels and that was the right spot. And now it's at 90 pixels and that's the right spot. Like what the heck? I won't be as stressed. So here's the thing. Okay, so let's try and think this through. Okay. How big of a fit is the S&P 500 going to put up here? Yeah. That's what it really comes down to, right? Because I don't think that anything right now is showing like we're about to go into a recession or anything like that. I just don't see how 2 interest rate rises is a huge deal, but whatever. I mean, this is again like the market's going to overreact here, right? Because they're all not paying attention, right? They all thought that money was free forever, and every time that we've been trying to tell them for the last 6 months that interest rates were going to rise, they're like, no, Federal Reserve can't do that. They can't rise. How will the government pay the debt? Listen, guys, the government has a budget deficit of $2.6 trillion per year. Okay. If interest rates rise 1%, it adds 1.4 trillion to that deficit over 10 years. Okay. So the managing the debt is a teeny tiny little bit of the problem, right? Compared to this huge budget deficit. So is higher interest rates going to affect the government's ability to repay its debt? Not really going to have a very big effect. But if there's a company out there that has too much debt on and they're servicing their debt when the interest rates rise, makes their business unprofitable or something, yeah, that'd be a problem, right? That'd be a problem. But guess what? Anybody that sat down and made their business so that interest rates had to stay below 2% for years and years and years in order for them to make money, be profitable, and it be a sensible investment was stupid. If that's your business, shame on you. That's dumb. So what does that mean? This cannot be that big of a deal. There you go. Just don't support buying ARK, Kathy Wood, dip buying. Yeah, exactly. Freaking Kathy Woods is crazy. That talk is useless. It'll never be back. Probably not. I mean, I don't know. The longer this goes on, the more it really is like, how are they ever going to pay back the debts? I mean, the intention isn't to pay it back, but like, okay, you don't have to pay the debt back. Okay, as long as the debt isn't growing faster than GDP, we're okay. All right. So if we have a budget surplus and the servicing on the debt plus the debt isn't growing more than 3% per year, we're fine. Okay. and the servicing is not going to get to 3% of GDP. Okay. So, but how are they even going to get the budget deficit, fixed? How is that? It's a little crazy, right? I guess in the last year, the deficit being, a trillion is like a one-off sort of a thing, but still, it's just pretty crazy. Only cowards pay back their loans. Yeah. We just got to remember that the whole thing is that taking on debt is really good and accelerates your growth. And as long as that debt isn't growing faster than the GDP, that can go on forever, right? It's just when investors don't want to buy the debt anymore, and we're not. I don't know where that line is, but I don't think we're anywhere close to it. That doesn't mean, go all in modern monetary theory. No, that would be very, very different, because what modern monetary theory says is, take on excessive amounts of debt, and the way that you avoid hyperinflation is you just take that money all back out through taxes. Well, that has costs. Like, the problem with modern monetary theory is that they seem to think that all of their actions will have no impact on markets, but I tell you what, you raise taxes up that high and all this, it would definitely affect markets. It wouldn't be pretty, right? Are investors buying debt? That's the question. Who's buying it? That's a good question, and yes, they are. Here's the thing you got to remember. Here, let's come here. See, you don't follow me on TikTok. That's the problem here, guys. You got to follow, because we talked about this on TikTok. If we come down here to Bond's home on Morningstar.com. No, it's not that one. Not that one. Here we go. No, it's not that one either. What if I just go to data, rates and bonds? Okay. Here we go. Okay, so when we look at yields, so here's 10-year yields, right? United States, 1.72%. Canada, 1.67%. Germany, -0.07%. So Germany, the things coming through from the German inflation numbers. German inflation rises at the fastest pace in almost 30 years. Okay, so Germany is having record inflation. Their interest rate is negative. If you are a what do we call these? If you're a pension fund, what do we call these things? Pensions. But if you're a pension fund, how do you do your thing if your country's pension or interest rate is negative? How do you, right? They're buying U.S. debt because there's like literally nowhere else to go. So it's pretty funny, because like the real yields are negative, but they are buying it. They absolutely are buying it. That's kind of the crazy thing. Now, when they're done with the taper, we'll really see, because I think that people underestimate the impact that the Federal Reserve has been having on interest rates from their asset purchases, right? Germany will buy. Well, they've really been the Japanese that have been buying it, right? It's the Japanese pension funds that have been doing the most. That's why there's such a strong correlation between the 6J and the treasuries. Let me fix my monitors here a little bit. Yeah. Pension funds. How the ones what? Sorry, do you have buddies down at your local local pension fund that you talk to on a regular basis? Can you see what they're doing? There's some metrics somewhere. Where's the trying to think. You can definitely see which countries are buying the most, right? Hmm. You do actually. Okay. Well, it's probably not going to be ones in the United States they're buying it, right? It's going to be foreign demand. But if you have a buddy in Japan, then now we're talking, right? Okay, JP Morgan, given current stock of reserves in excess of 4 trillion, we are far from the 2018 episode of reserve scarcity, and it could take a couple of years of quantitative tightening before we could get to a more neutral level of reserves. Oh, okay. Yeah. You got to realize, GT350, that people come in here and talk a big game all the time and then just end up being full of shit. Just I am I and not only that, but Seth is just no respecter of persons. I don't really care who you are. Obviously, I have fans. Like if somebody came in here and they're like, "Oh, I'm Sean Philippe Beauchard," I'd be like, "Oh, really? What?" Actually, no, I'd be like, "No, you're not. Get out of here." But that's one guy that's like, wow, he sure understands a lot about how markets work. But anybody else, Ray Dalio comes in here, he's wrong about all sorts of shit. Jim Cramer comes in here, he's wrong about all sorts of shit. I tell you what, I feel bad for Jimmy because if you're going to come in and you have to make calls about every market and every stock every day, then you're just going to make a lot of really bad calls. This is just the way it is. Like the Jim Cramer's hit rate is so bad because of the number of calls that he is forced to make because of the way that he runs his show, you know? So he gets pummeled so much. But when you're like on CNBC in the morning and the market's moving in a certain way and they're like, "What's going on, Jimmy? What are they thinking?" And he talks about what he thinks the money managers are doing and why, and think that is super valuable insight. It really he really does understand his stuff. It's just the entertainment business is a certain way. I'm guilty all the time of taking people at face value. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just the space that we're in really necessitates it, right? Like everybody seems to have this bizarre idea that you put in a certain amount of work and then you become profitable, and then it's like that for the rest of time. Like it doesn't work that way. you know like it, usually the best performing hedge fund this year is the worst performing hedge fund the next year. This is definitely what's happening with ARK. It was so very, very, very predictable, right? And it, you might understand one market really well. Like this is the challenge that we've got, is that I understood the situation with the rates rising. I made some mistakes along the way, but overall, I made pretty good plays on it. You can see here in with my position on and my like CTA strategy, like it looks amazing, right? That doesn't mean that I'm going to be of any use between now and March. I'm kind of having a little bit of a difficult time here sorting out what's a fair interest rate between now and the Federal Reserve meeting in March. Oil is up though for sure. Markets, well, yeah, oil is just taking off, right? I changed my. Did you see it? Because I had all that stuff. So the thing is I had too many ES charts. This ES chart, in fact, I'm even kind of thinking about. I want to get rid of. Or I could at least simplify it, but I don't remember what it was that I wanted to put up here that I couldn't see very well. And now I've got everything. So this was like oil. I switched this one over to oil, and I put this one as soybeans, which is like, okay, okay, Seth, whatever. Maybe it should be copper. Maybe it should be copper. Yeah, Kramer still has a show on CNBC. What happened was what changed was that when what's his bucket kicked the bucket. I don't even remember the guy's name. He was he was a nice guy. He was a nice, kind, funny guy. But he died, and so he was like the guy in the morning. They replaced him with Kramer. So Kramer does the early morning thing, and then he's got all day to prepare for his show, and it's fine. I tell you, I really like Jim Cramer, even though he's a freaking communist. Good grief. Oh my gosh. Did you guys see the whole rant about him and unvaccinated people and stuff? It was like you got to realize this is a guy that has a picture of himself depicted as Lenin in his set, right? So he's he's a pretty far lefty, right? The whole shtick that kind of got them started before he had his own show was Kudlow and Kramer, right? Because Kudlow was far right and Kramer was far left. But he has a book called Mad Money, I think it was, and where he basically tells you how to use the show. And one of the things that's interesting in the book is that he tells you um, things in the book that he can't tell you in the show. Like he tells you, if I talk about a stock and I mention a stock on the show for the first time, do not go and buy it that day. Do not go and buy it because they pump. There are these guys that are sitting out there in the aftermarket watching my show and raising the prices of everything that I talk about. So you will never get a good price if I just talked about it. Wait a couple of weeks for everybody to forget and then buy it if you want to buy it. Right? He says that and he talks about how, there's the entertainment value of it and everything. And so he basically shows you how to filter what is coming out of the show to be able to get the real actionable information. Probably, and I tell you, probably the most valuable part of his show is like the first 5 minutes where he talks about what happened in the market and he kind of lays out the narrative in the market at that time. That's probably the most valuable piece of information you can get from him. His individual stocks is like whatever. Keep an eye on fertilizer. Actually, I have heard about that. Right? But somebody was talking about fertilizer. I actually kind of looked at it, but I didn't like the choices. Didn't like the choices. Not financial advice. I really hate that thing. Like, I don't feel like I really give financial advice for the most part, right? But there are some people that definitely do give financial advice and they hide behind that. They're like, here's what you should do. You should buy this thing and you should buy this thing and here are the prices and everything. Oh, but it's not financial advice. Like, what? You're so full of crap, dude. People totally do this. You've seen this, right? I explicitly am like, well, here's what I'm doing, but you probably shouldn't do what I'm doing. Right? So it's just I, I wish I could remember what the deal was about it, but when I looked at it, I was like, oh, there's probably is a really good chance that fertilizer prices are going to go up. But I didn't like the companies that I had to invest in to take advantage of it, and so I passed. That one keeps happening to me with uranium too. It's like every time that uranium gets mentioned to me, and I'm, because I really want to be involved in nuclear, right? And I've done a lot of research about next generation nuclear power. So the issue is that the companies that really are the basis of next generation nuclear power are not public, right? Bill Gates is invested in them, but you can't invest in them, which really sucks. But so then the remaining play is uranium. Well, here's the problem. There are like some short-term supply constraints, especially with Kazakhstan or wherever it is, revolting basically right now, and that's where a lot of uranium comes from. Um, so like every time that I hear uranium mentioned, there's like some sort of supply disruption, and that's not the way that I want to play it. And it's certainly you don't want to buy it when it's high, right? You want to buy it when it's ridiculously low. And so it's like the play that I want to make, which is that they're going to build more nuclear power plants, isn't actually happening, And so I haven't gotten involved in it. Is it 94% of the supply that the US gets? Yeah, what's going on in Kazakhstan is kind of is interesting to me. Um so I think that you have the first really clear example of a government essentially being toppled because of COVID. Like they're having an energy crisis over there. They removed the subsidies on gas so that like the price of gas doubled overnight, and this is why people are upset. Eh, even and I think that they have good reason to be upset because the regime there was not very, it was basically a dictatorship. Um you know, but it's like really close to Russia. And what do you think Russia is going to do? You know, have they sent in troops? News. Russia paratroopers arrive in Kazakhstan as unrest continues, reports The Guardian. Let's read it. Russian paratroopers have arrived in Kazakhstan as part of a peacekeeping mission by a Moscow led military alliance to help the president regain control of the country, according to a Russian news agency. Kazakhstan's president, Kasim Jomart Tokayev, asked, wow, I said that correctly, Tokayev, asked for the intervention from the Collective Security Treaty Organization, an alliance made up of Russia, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan late on Wednesday, and it was swiftly approved. It comes as violent clashes continue between protesters and the police and the army in Kazakhstan. There is little reliable information on the number of, so there's no way that they're going to overthrow the government there if Russia's going to get involved. Huh. That's kind of disappointing. Kind of the problem though is that I don't see a very clear case. Like normally when you're having a revolution, it's like you have like these grievances and their grievance is like things are too expensive. You know what I mean? Like they have good reasons to want to get rid of the regime there for sure, but they just don't have like a clear catalyst that would really create sympathy from the rest of the world to for people to step in and tell Russia to cut it off, you know? Mm. Witnesses indicate there have been fatalities in the center sector of Kazakhs- Kazakhstan's Almaty. I guess today might be a weird day in markets because the the non-farms number didn't really move the needle at all, did it? And we got non-farms tomorrow, which is just going to be absolutely huge and crazy. And it's January 6th. So like the media is not going to want to talk about the stock market or anything like that. They're going to want to talk about January 6th. How how the conservatives were, protesters that were basically waved into the Capitol by the police tried to foment a rebellion and overthrow the republic. We have to put up with that all day. What is it with you air cages and always wanting to go all in on everything? I just don't. I have an idea. What if we put a little bit of money in a bunch of different things, and then if one of them like really takes off, we would make money. Instead of having, because if we put it all in one thing, we're less likely to get something that pops off. I read a headline that they liquidated. That's, yeah, it's kind of scary. The whole business is kind of a unsavory thing. I mean, it's not like the United States hasn't had its hand in the affairs of other countries in ways that was um, not helpful to the freedom of the individuals that live in that country. It becomes a complicated issue because especially when if you live in a country where the vast majority of the industry comes from one thing, usually like resource extraction like oil, then it it generally tends to lead to a dictatorship simply because like that's what ends up being the most efficient. And you're actually, in a way, from what I've read and seen at least, when you try and push for a democracy and stuff, you're really just kind of kicking against the pricks. Like it's inevitable that it's going to go this way anyways, and so it's better to try and manage the dictatorship and try to build the country out so that it has other resources and incentives so that the power can be more balanced, you know? And so I think that that's how the United States tries to justify it in some of these cases. But but I can't think of a time when it was like there's a popular uprising in a country and the United States sends paratroopers to quell the rebellion. Like that's just super dystopian stuff, isn't it? Thank goodness I put a little in Robin. You really are into that Robin Hood, man. Man, so here, the thing is like when I started in, I was long rates and I wanted to get in some gold. The gold wasn't really working very well, right? I got into rare earth resources. That one's the mining one. That one's been just amazing. Um, but then I was like, well, we need to diversify a little bit. Let's get a tech. There's a startup that I'm really interested, or an IPO that I'm really interested in getting. And you know what? In the beginning, it was really good. It was amazing. And then, but ever since then, it's just been so dismal. It's just so dismal. And every day that this comes out and like the interest rates rise, and it's like, well, you're considered an unprofitable tech company. So guess what? Down 5%. It's just, it just kills me. It's painful. It's my sleeper pick of the year, Kathy Wood says. Oh man. Kathy. She really like the thing that weirds me. Here's what weirds me out about Kathy Woods, all right? Not doing a very good job. I'm trying to look at the camera here, but I feel like the camera's a little bit too far over. But it's where it needs to be so that you guys can see the lovely screen behind me. So we're just gonna deal with it. Okay. Kathy Woods is nuts. She's nuts. And nobody ever talks about this. Like they come in and they're like, well, Kathy Woods, her portfolio's she made tons of money this year, and now she's not making so much money, and she's not, and that's like what they talk about, right? And they don't talk about like, yeah, except for she's crazy. Like she's crazy and like literally has no clue what she's doing. There's people on social media that talk about this. Man, have you ever watched some of her speeches? It's like, it's like a sermon. It's like a church sermon, and she talks about God a lot and like all born again and stuff and that sort of a thing. And talk about investment. Well, I mean, she talks about investment too, but it's like disruption, this disruption, that. She always got. By the way, anytime that somebody comes in and they say that they're going to disrupt an industry, your first response should be skepticism, okay? Because that usually doesn't happen. And most of the people that say that they're going to disrupt an industry don't. And it's a very difficult play for a person like you or me to make, because we probably don't understand the industry well enough to really know if what they're talking about is disruptive or not. So when you see that one, you're going to have to say, well, I'm going to have to do a bunch of research, right? You're up 3.68. Do you mean just from the beginning of 2022, or do you mean over the past 12 months? So my fidelity just shows me over the past 12 months, which we should check that out here, because yesterday was doing really good at the beginning, and I probably got hammered when everything else went down too. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was ugly. That was ugly. It's actually not so bad, but where's it coming from? Yeah. Well, we'll see here when the markets open in 5 minutes. It might look a little bit different. But it tells me like your rate of return. Okay, so my return was 21.16, but I'm like all small caps, so I don't know. So I am underperforming the market by a little bit. Actually, about what a retail person underperforms by usually. I outperformed before that. So, but it doesn't tell you over the past, few months or whatever the deal is, right? Performance. Maybe if I click that one. Oh, okay, go. Time frame year to date. No, it's still showing me 2021. Yeah, so I can't really see that. You jumped out of the oil equities in oil yesterday. Why? Why? You could be at 80 now. Come on. I'm a little excited to see what my oil play does here today. That's why I was pulling that up. Why did I close the tab? I'm gonna bring that back up. Because I wanna see what it does when we open. I'm a fool, that's why. Oh yeah, the oil one is really interesting. Remember last week when I was like, I think that oil is probably a better barometer of the economy at the moment than the stock market is, because the stock market is being affected by all of these short-term demands, right? And now it's like the exact opposite, because now the oil market is starting to realize the supply problems in the oil market. And so you get this situation where the S&P 500 is still down, but oil just rocketed right back up. And on the downturn was definitely because of the equity weakness, right? And the correlations from that. But then what happened was the smart oil traders said, yeah, but it doesn't matter to us. So we're going to bid it back up. Interesting how those moves work, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I just saw something flashed through on Twitter, and it reminds. So we've been watching Cobra Kai. Do you guys watch Cobra Kai? My wife and kids, when there's a show, they're like, it's so retarded, because they just want to do nothing but watch the show until they're done with it. So this whole week it's been nothing but Cobra Kai. But it was a good show, and there was a tweet that reminded me of Cobra Kai, so now I'm thinking about that. Thinking about that instead of how GT350 should still be in oil. Oil blasts through $80 to a 7-week high, says Forex Live. Oh, that was 3 minutes ago. How come I didn't catch that one? Remember, we were saying 85, so running oil is probably not done yet. Although, interestingly enough, even though the oil market is outperforming what the market expectations were 3-4 weeks ago, when we kind of first started messing around with this, it has not outperformed my own expectations, at least not yet. So it's going to be really interesting to see what oil does here in the next 3 weeks. The story's not over. No, so Joe Biden said something about last year, for the first time in our history, a president who just lost an election tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. That's not true. Man, am I allowed to talk about that? This is like one of those things where I'm like, if you talk about it, though, you might, you know, YouTube may not be happy with you. Well, what's headline of the day, says New Squawk here. Newport counselor Chris Evans caught with sex worker in his car, panics and tells police officers, "I work with her." What the? And the guy just happens to be named Chris Evans. Okay, so here's a yes. They gonna buy this? That first impulse is long. Yields are just not really doing much of anything interesting. I don't know. I think that if I wanted to buy it, I would want them to sell it a little bit first. Yeah. Well, we could both put one on, and then, just in case they don't do it. But I think that they are going to try and have a little bit of a sell here first. So here's the thing. We gotta let's be honest about what happened on January 6th. Okay, the former president believed that he had a legal maneuver that could um, overturn the results of the election. He believes that there was fraud and that he really actually won. So that's the first thing. And he thought that they had a legal maneuver. Okay. So if you go and you do a legal maneuver, that's not like a non-peaceful, right? That's just using the system to your advantage. That's not what they're saying it is. It just is not what they're saying it is. Now, the legal maneuver that they thought that they had was kind of a stupid one. I don't think that it would have worked out in their favor very well. I think that the vice president was wise to just say, no, this isn't worth it. Okay, but they what they were doing was something that they thought was legal, and if it wasn't legal, then the court system would have come in and put a stop to it. You say that it's a great spot to short oil with options. Why do you say that? I would be really careful with that one. So let's just because I don't know how far back you were listening, but let's just make sure we're all on the same page. What's happening in oil right now is the S&P 500 is very, very unhappy. So the S&P 500 got just slaughtered because of interest rates yesterday. And thus oil went down in sympathy, but then overnight just got bid right back up. And the reason that we're seeing such bullishness in the oil market right now is because there is real concern over supply, because countries have not been investing very much in increasing oil supply. And in the last OPEC meeting, many countries were not able to meet their quotas. And so that's why this thing is going on, is they're saying like, okay, like we've kind of gotten to the point now where things are recovering and they should continue to increase oil output and increase it and increase it. And they can't actually create the output that they're going to need. And that is why I believe that oil is going up. And the bear case on this is that global growth is going to take a hit here because of Omicron. But I don't think at this point that anybody really believes that the economic impact of Omicron is going to be that severe. So, um, and will the economic impact of interest rates be that severe? Well, man, when you look at the way that the S&P 500 traded yesterday, you'd think that it was all over, wouldn't you? You'd think that they were pricing in a recession, but it's actually a relatively mild pullback in the larger scheme of things. We shouldn't read too much into yesterday's action just yet. It may be the first move in something much bigger, but for now it's just kind of a healthy pullback. And okay, yes, but we can still handle higher rates. It will be fine. So in that kind of a scenario, I think oil continues to go up. So for all of that, if you really did want to short oil, you could be very, very careful about that one, because while you could catch a reversal that would be just absolutely amazing for you, the bulls are going to continue to squeeze. This is going to be one of those ones where the bulls kind of have the advantage, and they're going to continue to squeeze things, even if the fundamentals aren't necessarily in their favor. So I certainly wouldn't be like selling calls or something like that. You know what I mean? You ordered that book? It's a good book. The problem with the book is, will you actually understand it? That's the, because it's not. I got to tell you, it's not your usual retail trader reading. It's university level math. Okay. And there's going to be lots of times where you feel like you don't completely understand what he's saying. And you just got to push through it, and maybe you'll have to read it 3 or 4 times. Okay, with futures, I wouldn't short oil, but with options, I would only be risking a few hundred. But is it really? Well, I feel like that would only make sense if you really, really felt strongly that you had a very high probability of it reversing back down. And I haven't heard you say why you think that. You say Omicron and potential variants are extremely underrated. It will change our lives forever. I'm not convinced it will. You know, like here's the thing with Omicron. It's almost already over. You realize that, right? Like a lot of people caught it. It's going to create a lot of carnage all over the place, but um it's not that deadly. It's not really very deadly, and it's spreading so quickly that it's going to be a flash. Like we're going to be past the peak of Omicron here in a few weeks. It's not going to be like this. It's not going to be like the Delta thing where it goes on for like 6 months. It's quantum physics. Nah, it's not more complicated than quantum physics. There is some probability theories in there that you have to use. There's a lot of algebra and stuff, but it's not famous last words luck. The stats on Omicron are that it's not as deadly. The stats on Omicron are basically it's the flu. It's this time it really truly is comparable to the flu. Maybe some other variant comes in that's very vaccine resistant and is more deadly, but some people are trying to push this thing that like it needs to just continue on forever, and I'm not gonna put up with that. Well, of course, like it's going to become endemic, though, right? Which means that the population will have widespread immunity to it, but it's never going to go away. It's going to be just like the flu. The first time that the flu came around, it was really bad, but now it's there every year. Yeah, people die from it, but and the thing you got to remember is that the bugs that are the most likely to spread and transfer are going to be the ones that are more contagious but less deadly, right? Because if it's deadly, then they just die, right? Or they isolate themselves in the room. So it has to be kind of like doesn't kill you, right? So the variants should get milder as time goes on. And we've definitely seen that, right? Omicron is a very good example of that, where it's not as deadly. So I feel very strongly that betting in the stock market that we're going to have a huge another wave of pandemic that's going to destroy the stock market, I think is extremely unlikely to happen. I don't think that is a very good play. I think the play here is now that the pandemic is basically over, we might have some impact from Omicron, but now we have to deal with the economic impacts of normalization, right? Can we handle the normalization of interest rates? Can we handle, that sort of a thing? That's the battle now. Yeah, you would say marking my words, but we have no reason to believe that that's going to happen. Tell that to dictator Trudeau, man. Yeah. Well, I also feel pretty strongly that in some countries the leaders are using this largely as a political ploy. Yeah. By the way, this long here has been pretty amazing. Oh yes. Bloomberg reports Goldman Sachs is extremely bullish on commodities amid a supercycle that has the potential to last for a decade. Oh, that would be lovely. I should buy more commodity. If I'm done, if this oil one works out, I'm going to need to uh take that money and then invest it in an actual company. And there is like here's the thing. I've said it a million times, but I'll say it again, man. If you want people to take the vaccine because the vaccine does work, and the more people that get the vaccine, the more prepared we're going to be against the virus, and the less people will die. It's absolutely that's absolutely the case. So, if you want people to get the vaccine, you don't say the stupid shit that they're saying in places like Canada and France, okay? You don't come out and say, I want to piss off the non-vaccine people, okay? Why do you come out and you say those sorts of things? Here's why you would come out and say that sort of a thing. Because you're trying to consolidate power. You're trying to marginalize the people that don't support you, and you're trying to galvanize the people that do support you against those people so that you can consolidate your political control. It's 100% a political ploy, because if you're really interested in maximizing the number of people that get the vaccine, you would not say that shit. Your NFTs are definitely commodities. Nah. You know what? You know what NFTs are? NFTs are ugly cartoons marketed towards virgins. That's what I've decided NFTs are. And NFTs are ugly cartoons marketed towards virgins. That's what I think is our TikTok is going to be today. It's like I found a TikTok. I think I got a good start. What leader do we know that did the same thing? A lot of them. I think that gold, Donald Trump did a bunch of that to some extent too. I mean, the thing is it's kind of funny because the far right has really just become really anti-vaccine. And when I go and I read the stuff on social media, I feel like it is very much manipulated. It's like there are individual people that seem to be extremely active in trying to uh, bring down the virus or whatever it is. It's like these people that are spending an inordinate amount of time and effort to spread anti-vaccine messaging. And much of the messaging that I see is illogical and manipulative. Okay. So for instance, they'll say, you got, vaccinated and boosted 3 times and still caught it. That must mean that you're an idiot. And it's like, no, that's not the way that a vaccine works. It's like 90% effective, not 100% effective. That means that 1 in 10 people will still get it. So if you got the booster and you still got it, that doesn't mean that you're stupid or that the vaccine doesn't work or anything like that. That is just a meme that is taking advantage of a cognitive bias in people where we don't understand statistics intuitively, and especially not on large scales and large numbers. And they're intentionally exploiting that to try and harm the virus. That I don't think, I don't know, maybe those people are just that stupid. But I really believe I wish I had evidence to back this up, but I do believe that there are trolls from Russia and China that are trying to push anti-vaccine messaging. I think that foreign governments are pushing anti-vaccine messaging in pro Donald Trump forums to hurt the United States response to the pandemic. And it's just because I some of the stuff that I see just I don't think you can explain any other way other than foreign intervention or whatever you want to call it, interference, right? But then they've like riled up the right because what happened is that it used to all be on Reddit, right? There was the Donald subreddit and it was all on Reddit. And when you're on Reddit, you have the benefit of the admins and the security measures that Reddit has to keep trolls out. And when you move off of Reddit, you don't have that anymore. So now that now that it's all happening on the Donald and on Facebook, which Facebook doesn't do a very good job at this at all, um, they're being influenced by manipulators from other countries. So the base has been driven into this anti-vaccine fervor, and Donald Trump continues to say, no, you should get vaccinated. He's very proud of making the vaccine. Right? Isn't that interesting? And he continues to be on it, even though they like it's gonna get down to like if he ran again in 2024 and they're still gonna talk about it, and he's gonna say, yeah, you should get vaccinated, and they're gonna boo him on the stage, and he's gonna put down his own supporters. Like it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. That doesn't mean that there's not individual issues around vaccines that in which are being manipulated unfairly, or you know, like this risk of myocarditis. I don't think that it's, you know, I, although I'm not entirely sure, it seems to me that if it was really that common, that they wouldn't be telling everybody to go out and get it. Okay, but um I do also think that they're kind of trying to downplay and like suppress information about it. And because if you're vulnerable to that sort of a thing, I think you should know, right? There is no sane reason for children to get the vaccine. They will eventually be exposed to COVID at some point and get natural immunity. I think so. That's what I think. I'm a little weirded out. Like before they approved the vaccine for children, that's what everybody was saying, is that the kids will catch it and they're very immune and they'll get natural immunity and it's no big deal, and that the kids don't need a vaccine. And all of the evidence that we've seen throughout this whole pandemic, it was from the very beginning. From the very beginning, every piece of scientific evidence that we had suggested that the kids aren't spreading it, that shutting the schools down does not help prevent the spread, and that all you're doing is harming children and their learning. This has been from time and time again. Like all of the science says this, and then they still do this shit. It's that's the one thing that really makes me mad. And it's not even necessarily the government that's pushing that per se. It's like the teachers unions don't want to work or something. And tell you what, the S&P 500 sure got a pretty good run there off of the open, but they came all the way back. How will Trump win? I don't think that he can. I'm hoping that they will talk him out of it. It will be close. He clearly wants to run. I think at this point, I think we have to admit that he wants to run, but I think that they convince him not to. I think they convince him not to. They'll be like at the last second they'll explain why it's such a bad idea, and Ivanka will convince him or something like that. Hmm. So by the way, let's see the when we look at the deltas and everything, looks like that's an equal up move and down move. The yield is largely flat. We are seeing the treasuries make a little bit of an up move, although they're still within the range. But if they do make an up move, we might see a pretty good run here because, like again, like there was this hole at 30 yesterday. So if the treasuries were to break out to the upside, 30 would be a good target. But in the moment, nothing's really showing me anything too crazy. Why is it a bad idea? Because you can't. Yeah, well, like when you have somebody that like 60% of the country just really doesn't want to run, you kind of have a problem. Okay, like before there was kind of this whole argument about if Donald Trump runs, it will bring down the rest of the ticket and all of this sort of a thing, and maybe that was a little bit of a factor in the last election, but what we saw largely was that even though Donald Trump lost, that most of the Republicans in their individual races won. And for instance, the Republicans picked up more seats in the House than they were expected to, right? But I think that if Donald Trump ran again, that it would turn into that. Whether it's justified or not, and unfortunately, it's not a conversation that you can really fairly have in the public sphere because I don't think that the January 6th riot, as we'll call it, is really what it has been portrayed in the media. I think that it was mostly a couple of boomers aimlessly wandering around the Capitol, a few instances of vandalism, and this if they had gotten a hold of a senator, nobody would have been killed there, and nothing was going to happen. Okay, it was the whole thing is just silly to me. But the media has been pretty effective at weaponizing it against him. Okay, so um, it's it's just going to be super hard for them to overcome that. Like it would be so difficult for Donald Trump, I think. Now, the only thing that Donald Trump really has in his favor is that his opponent would be Joe Biden again. And if it really came down to Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, then Trump maybe stands a good chance. But I'm not sure that Trump can even win the Republican nomination at this point. If a challenger came and the challenger was competent, I mean, one of the big problems that they had here was that all of the challengers to Donald Trump were really kind of impotent. In the last Republican election, it was like they they didn't really have. How do I say this? How do I describe this? You had a bunch of people that they just wanted to be president. They didn't really have like this drive, this underlying thing pushing them to do that. They just wanted power, and they were just doing what their stupid political advisors were telling them to do. Uh, um, Jeb Bush probably being the best example. It's that they go and they do these um, focus group tested strategies, and it falls completely flat because he doesn't really actually believe in any of it, right? So the Phils was really impotent. Okay, this next time around, I don't think that it would be quite the same thing. I think that Rand Paul would probably hold himself a lot better than he did last time around. And I think Ted Cruz, would have the chance. And you're gonna have Nikki Haley, who, I don't really know what her personal persona is, but they're probably gonna push Nikki Haley really hard, and she might be a formidable opponent too. So as long as the GOP field aren't like pushovers like they are last time, I don't think that Donald Trump can even win the nomination. If he does win the nomination, it may be close. Oh, by the way, we might have some background noise here because carpet cleaners are coming today and they have to come in super early. Okay, actually, I'll be right back. If they are successful in prosecuting Trump in New York, he won't be able to run. Yeah, I don't think that one is going to work out the way that liberals hope it will. They're grasping at straws with most of this prosecution in New York. They always talk a big game, and then when the charges actually come out, it's like they've got nothing. The treasuries were kind of starting to look like they were going to break out, but they just got slammed right back into the middle here. Is it now we're kind of getting this equity correlation with it too? It's like equities turned down, so treasuries had to turn down. I have to, reposition my chart here for you guys. I'm not seeing. Oh, there's a little bit of absorption here in the 80s area. They sure are trying hard. It's kind of I think it's kind of funny. Yeah. Well, you know what's happened. I again, this is like very much Seth's opinion. All right, I'm trying to be careful here because I don't want to get too far into like talking politics for politics' sake, you know, but rather when we're talking about these things, it needs to be either trying to understand what is likely or could happen in the future, or trying to better understand the political landscape so that we can improve our predictions, right? Um, Something that I see on the left is that the left just seems to be mesmerized by the media. There's a strong correlation between how much time you spend on social media and how liberal or conservative you are. Conservatives do not spend as much time on social media. It's the left, and I think that especially these young kids are being heavily influenced by what they're seeing online, right? So hold on here. Do we got some news coming up? Let's make sure that we're all ready. It's the it's US ISM non-manufacturing PMI. Are looking for a reading of 67. The treasuries and everything else are really, really pulling here.
Block by.
Interesting. Okay, so the number came out at 62 when the expectation was 67. The treasuries kind of bid up a little bit on that, and because the treasuries backed off, the S&P 500 backed off, but now it is turning back down. Well, on this one, I think I should just get out of that sim trade, huh? Maybe I do that. They're gonna flip back around. I still think that there's a chance we could get some upside action in the treasury, but I don't know. Um, the kind of the thing I'm getting is that the flow from that news wasn't really very solid. There, well, okay, so there are some prices doing stuff here, so I guess I'm gonna try it again here. Uh, 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 okay, so anyways, as I was saying, Democrats are more influenced by media than conservatives are. Okay, and what has been happening as of late is the media plays these stupid games, especially when it's around Donald Trump, where it's like, oh look, there's this court case has been filed, and they try and get everybody amped up and excited about the court case. You know, so and you get this over and over and over again, and I don't understand why Democrats don't realize that the media is just playing this game with them for clicks. You know, the whole Donald Trump thing in the first place happened because the media knew that if they mentioned his name, that people would click and read the news story. It's stupid. Optics, yeah, it's just absolutely stupid. And you see, you get this whole group of people that their entire perception of what's actually going on in politics is just completely distorted because of they're not really reading the what's going on, right? They're just reading the headlines. And so they think that, oh yeah, like Donald Trump is gonna get prosecuted and he tried to take over the country and there's no way he's gonna run again and all this stuff, right? Okay, so there is something going on here at 4674. I don't know if that's going to be enough to turn them around, though. So far, it's not coming. Especially not with the treasuries pushing the lows now again. Factory orders month over month was 1.6 versus 1.5. Durable goods revised 2.6, 2.5. There is a 4-week bill auction at 9:30, 11:30 Eastern time. Um, I don't know, guys. Flows in ES are not looking terribly helpful after this news. Well, shouldn't necessarily be because it wasn't good news, right? Mm-mm-mm. What was the overnight low? 46.67. Okay. By the way, while we've been doing all this, what has the cryptocurrency market been doing? They're still just kind of skidding along the bottom there, aren't they? Okay, so there was the overnight low. They breached it by a teeny tiny little bit there. You're getting hoodwinked, is that? Now, you know, there's another thing we can say about this January 6th thing, because like I'm reading this one from the Wall Street Journal. Or no, it was from Forbes. Former president, Biden said this. Former president has created a web of lies around the 2020 election. He's done so because his bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our constitution. He can't accept the loss. I don't think that that's it. I think that you do whatever it takes to win. I think that you do whatever it takes to win, and of course, you work within reason. You work within the law and the Constitution. But the law on this particular point is not really all that clear. So that they were even able to make that argument is kind of a really good reason that they should be trying to amend this law. And the Congress probably has a chance to amend this law to fix that. And but Democrats want to like completely take over the electoral system. So we'll see if they let them fix it or not. We'll see if they let them fix it or not. Because it's important to realize that it's because you do everything to win, because it's inevitable that somebody else beyond Donald Trump is going to come in and try it, and that other person might actually be competent and have competent people behind him trying to do it, you know. I'm chasing a little bit here. Jeez. Wow. Okay, so we just got a really strong change in the flow there in the ES, despite the treasuries being at their lows. Although I'm not entirely sure. They kind of found themselves a little spot around 46.75 ish. You think the Dems have done more damage to rights in their first year than the president? They haven't really passed any laws, though, right? You have the channel. Thank you very much. Well, we're always going to be here. Of course, the channel will evolve and everything, but we're always going to be here. Man, them treasuries are looking pretty sad. Hmm. Okay, well, what I'm seeing here in the S&P 500 is just, we're starting to get a little bit of short-term volatility, right? Like the amount that this is just moving around is starting to get up there. They haven't passed anything legally, Well, so what would be a specific policy that you think, what do you think would be the best example of that? Because from my point of view, I feel like that they haven't really done a whole lot of anything other than talk. I think that their talk has been harmful on that front, but I don't feel like that they've necessarily done anything that can't be like fixed. Oh geez, yeah, that one was terrible. By the way, when that fell through there, when the E-mini fell down through to a new low, the treasuries backed up substantially. Those are really quick 3 ticks. So maybe a little bit of flight to safety coming in there. Let's see if I can try and find any kind of help in terms of, okay, 58. Hmm. Well, then that kind of suggests that we want to puke here, right? Cancel that. Oh, jeez. Sorry about the vacuum in the background. So I know I've been what I'm doing here in the ES is just kind of gambling, but what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to really push it if it starts going in my direction. This one is looking pretty positive. Okay. Might try just pulling a little bit out from the volatility here. There we go. Wow. That was an easy fill. Like it filled and then all the way up. Did you add it? What do you mean? Does it sound wrong? I do have a noise gate on here so that when I stop talking, it should go pretty 100% silent. Oh, that's a little weird. It's a little fast. Go check that out. Oh yeah, the release on that is way, way too high. Fast. Let's try. Try that. Okay, so the point at which they turned, um, I think is a little bullish because they didn't quite get to what would have been the place that the options creates all sort of chaos and everything. So you might see buyers get a little bit more confident here and that they've recovered 70. Oh wow. So Liam showing me a trade that he made like almost 3,000 on. That's crazy. Did you close it? You still got it? So should I keep trying to push it here? Oh, you closed it. Good. So this is kind of one of those days where it looks like we're going to get a lot of volatility. So something that we've got to be careful about is like we'll make a ton and then we'll keep trading and piss it away, right? On the other hand, this might well, it could do anything really. This could reverse and really fly back in their face hard. Yeah, that was 3 contracts, yeah. What I'm looking at here was I was only taking like 2 or 3 contracts before and taking pretty heavy losses. So even though I caught a good upside trade there, it like doesn't even come close to making up for the bad decisions earlier. Kathy needs to talk to him. You only live once. Hmm. Look at that. It's always really curious to me how quickly the book can change. You notice like it's really volatile and free flowing through here, but then it'll just be like certain spots where it's like they just can't you can't seem to get anything. They just can't seem to get through there, you know? Hmm. See, there's a pretty, if you come over on the 1 minute chart, you can really see it, right? Well, like we're just getting a really insane amount of short-term volatility. Like the length of 1 minute, um, one minute range is getting excessive. Maybe that's what I should do, is I should get rid of like this Fourier series analysis thing on here and just put a tick range indicator on there. Just remember, whether you've made money or not, you're one day closer to dying. Why you gotta be such a drag, air cages? I don't understand. Oh, look, I'm down. Add more. No, I have to say, they're starting to build quite a cluster here. I'm surprised that when I come over here and I look at the Vista chart, that there's not any icebergs on any of that. Okay. See, that looks really good now. It makes me want to chase. And we'll hold off. We're doing it okay for now. Let me come in here. Let me come in here and add a. Why are we talking? Oh, wait, what are we talking about with they actually, Vlad wouldn't accept Kathy's collect call? How's Bitcoin faring? 42,725. Seen a pretty good bid in the 6J. I'm almost there. Come on. Cool. Now I'm positive on the micro trades. You're watching Robinhood get smacked in humor. It is. It should be. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wish I could remember what it was. Oh yes, let me show you. Okay, here, find it on Reddit. So I made a thread on Reddit. I made a thread on Reddit for my last video, right? And I decided the title I wanted to go with on Reddit was, day trading isn't for everyone. And I don't know what it is with Reddit, but they always downvote every, you have to be like, you have to have like a bunch of people upvoting your stuff or something, because any video seems to get automatically downvoted, and my videos seem to get automatically downvoted. Like the comments in here have like 4 upvotes, but it's downvoted, and it's like 50% upvoted downvote ratio. But I said day trading's not for everybody, and somebody responded, "Day trading is for you if you love losing shit tons of money." It's just man. Okay, so when that took off, that really took off. So I suppose I should wait. Where was the open? Isn't that? It's not gonna mark it for me. We're above it. We're above the. Oh, there it is, right there. So let's take off at least one of these. Cool. How much should we do? We just leave 5 on and let them run. See, Alligator says ISM miss is all about supply chain disruptions, higher costs, and Omicron. So fun trading. You know what? This one in the ES was fun. I had a really hard time. I should have been shorting through a lot of that. Like as soon as it broke that opening range, I probably should have been trying to go short. But I definitely picked up on and then was able to really push the bounce, right? Now that we're here at like 90, it's kind of like I don't know. I kind of want to reduce more. Maybe I should do it at the open price. Sure. Okay. And that leaves me with just one. So we can get the natural gas numbers here. I really feel though that to really stand a chance at trading, that you really have to embrace the fact that for the first 5 years you're probably gonna lose money. Is that a news trade or the same as yesterday? No, the trade that I have on in ZN is the same trade that I've had on for like 3 weeks or whatever since before Christmas. So I took off some contracts, probably a lot higher than I should have, but I wanted to reduce my exposure to it. I did so well on the way down, and I think that the next narratives and flows that are going to come in here are going to be more bullish. So I wanted to kind of let it do its thing a little bit before adding a few more contracts back on later. So that's what I'm doing with that one. So Seth's CTA strategy reduced their exposure. Swings have, well, yeah, it's not just that. I tell you what, here in the micros probably could probably get some decent stuff done. Like, right there at 1.74 wouldn't be an unfair price. And you could maybe make that betting that treasuries are eventually going to break out here, right? But when you look at the treasuries itself, look at this. Look at this freaking chart. It's so ugly. Like, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it's actually a 7 tick range, but look at how much it ticked around in that range. It's just like, oh, it's so messy. So there is a lot of activity in the treasuries right now. They are not increasing the liquidity. Note that there's still like 3,000s on there. So there's a lot of trade coming in. Liquidity hasn't improved. And so they're just chopping around a lot. But it looks like that because there's not like a piece of news or something to like really clearly be driving them in a certain direction. So this volume is actually quite interspersed and random, and so you're just getting noise, and it's something that if we wanted to trade it with a single contract, would be very, very difficult to do. We could come in here and we could do some market making, and if we just did market making across this range, we probably would have done really, really well, right? Yeah, I think it very well could be considered a liquidity hole, but I think it's a little bit more than that, because you just got market orders just slamming into each other, and leading nowhere. It's like a what do they call it when two parties fight really hard and neither side is able to win? Just kind of stalled. But it's for the kind of trades that we might want to make, where we want to take like one contract and catch a trend or something. This is like the worst kind of action. The worst kind of action. This is more of a market maker's kind of market, at least in the treasury. In the ES, now who knows what that will do. Goldman strategists see haven in Europe stocks amid rate hikes, says Bloomberg. Valuations in European markets not as stretched as the US. A greater share of rate sensitive stocks favor Europe. I read that this morning as well. It's interesting they're putting that out now. Well, I've made a few stock trades, right? We did the DWAC thing. We did the GameStop thing. The two like day trade ones that we that we really put effort into were good. Were pretty good. I reckon they could be, well, stocks is a different game, that's for sure. I tell you what, if they didn't have the wash trading rules, I would totally market make stocks. I would totally do that, dude. You just go find a low cost stock and just, market make with a few contracts. Just put one at every price and everything, and try and catch the spread. Pick a company that I know really well. Give myself a model that is really, gives me an advantage and everything. Like, I think that there's some room in stocks. When the spread is only 1 tick in treasuries, it's like way freaking harder. Yeah, you're just fighting everybody for fills. It's hard to market make in the 10-year. Every once in a while we find good stuff, but yeah. Well, so now that the S&P 500 bounced, do we think that they could go and break the opening high? Well, statistics would tell us that they tend not to. Statistics would say that they tend not to, but given the volatility and everything else, I think that it's something we really have to consider a possibility, right? Why do they have the bigger spreads in stocks? Well, so for a few reasons. First of all, they don't have tick sizes in stocks. So Congress mandated that all stocks are priced to the nearest cent. It used to be that they could be traded like in eighths of a cent. It used to be that you could, if it was a bigger stock, that it was maybe to the nearest dollar. But Congress said that was too confusing for people, and you guys need to go to the nearest cent. So you have this situation where, because of the natural volatility of the stock and everything else, you have to have a spread that's like 20 cents wide and 20 ticks wide as a result, right? And so that's why you kind of get that in stocks. But then the other side of it is that there are wash trading rules. So in stocks, if you take a loss and then you immediately come back and buy that same asset or a comparable asset within like a month or something like that, then the wash trading rule applies to you, and you cannot count that loss. You can't deduct that loss on your taxes. So what ends up happening if you're trying to market make in the stocks is you have to pay taxes on all of your profits, and you don't get to deduct any of your losses from that. So you could market make all year and like make $0 from it, but have to pay like $200,000 in taxes because of the wash trading rule. This happened to a guy, right? So the wash trading rule essentially prevents retail traders from using market making strategies in stocks. And as such, it gives more room for the professionals that have like the market making license or whatever the deal is to, to just do whatever they want. So if they changed the wash trading rules, and maybe if they got rid of the pattern day trader rule where you have to have a $10,000 account to make more than 3 day trades within a week period, probably spreads in stocks would come down, and probably a lot of automated trading firms wouldn't be as profitable as they are. I don't know if Robinhood would live as well in a world like that. If stocks were as efficient as futures. Yep. Well, I kind of regret when I had to take some off at the open there. I wish that I had taken most of it off up here. And now that we're up here, like 47, for instance. I don't know, we gotta like, I'll leave it open until we end the stream, but for me, I don't think it makes sense to try and bet on them breaking the opening high. So it might just take too long for that to happen. Man, so Nassim, Mr. Taleb, he made a bet against Bitcoin, and I asked him what securities he used to put on that short, and like a ton of people liked and followed me for that, even though he didn't respond to it. The HFTs make the rules. It does kind of feel like that the rules in stocks are kind of set up so that retail traders can't play, and the HFTs can just run amok. And it sure seems to me that futures trade differently to stocks, and that futures are way more efficient and more difficult to make money from because of that. And I can't help but wonder if the rules in stocks are set up exactly in that way so that they can continue to make money at everybody's expense. Alligator says, I expected a bigger pullback after ISM. Seems nobody wants to sail against the wind. Yeah. Again, like this kind of rangy behavior here. Yeah, you just play the range, I think, is what you want to do here. Like we could maybe even do like here. We'll try it. Try it, okay? Oh, so I'm a little late. I'll do it. No, I can't get any fill on the bed. I'm too late. Too late. Oh, so now that I missed it, it comes back. I'm not gonna wait. Let it come back through. What, from like 92 to 95? That seems like a decent range to try and play. Well, let's come back over here and see how we're doing in the end. Oh my. Yes, my calls like that. My oil play likes that, but you know, the overall market is down. Goldman's down almost 2% today, really. It's kind of unfortunate. Something that I'm finding really frustrating is this dichotomy between individual stocks and the index. You know, it used to be that everything followed the index, and now the leadership is not very broad. And some of these stocks that are getting hit, it's like it just feels like there's no there's no refuge in sight, you know? Like let's see here. Like Zillow Group today is down 3.5%. Silver, First Majestic Silver is down 3.5%. Oh man, gold and silver got just decimated today, didn't they? You think, when is the CPI? That's not next week. Oh, it is next week, the 12th. That could be zany. Oh, and they've got a CPI on the same day as the 10-year bond auction and the beige book too. And then a bunch of Fed speakers before that. Guys, this is. And then we got to consider what the non-farms is going to do. Like, I'll tell you what, man. If non-farms comes out tomorrow, and it's bad, I'm not sure why it would be. What are they looking for? Let's see here. So they're looking for an employment change of 426K versus a previous reading of 210K. That would be a pretty big jump. We should remember that the estimate before last month was 500. So, for them to have a bad number tomorrow with the expectation already being kind of low, seems unlikely. I'm going to be interested to see what the analysts are saying. But if it ends up being bad, then it's going to be really bad. Like these treasuries are going to just skyrocket back up if the non-farms ends up being bad. On the other hand, they could be really good. They could get like 400, 500. It's well within the range of possibilities about where they've been lately. So if it was good, I'm not sure I can think of anything that would suggest that it is going to be good. But if it was good, what would the impact be here? Well, I'm not so sure that the treasuries would reprice much other than, oh, we're definitely going to raise rates in March. Yeah. So the play in the treasuries might not be so interesting. Especially if it was like, if the treasuries didn't go anywhere and the S&P 500 moved up, then we might see gold recover. But then, like, if that number ends up being good, and then we get back to the CPI, that just increases the pressure on the CPI, that if the CPI is high, that it could be really bad, right? I'm just kind of thinking here that, like, for the 10 year to make another big move here so that it goes like immediately to 2% just seems really unlikely to me. But we'll see what happens. See what happens. So I was thinking earlier, you guys were saying, you guys are doing really good content here. Thank you for the channel. I feel really strongly that we make really good content here. The reason that I do this is because I don't see other people talking about this stuff. And to me, it's like I've been through the ringer a couple of times. I keep going through it. I know how this game works. And I just know that the things that most people talk about don't matter. They don't help at all. It's, as far as I can tell, it's just random. Whereas understanding a particular economic situation and understanding what's going on in the order flow and being able to keep attention and correctly interpret what's going on, those are things that make a huge difference. But even though they make a huge difference, it's still super hard to make money, right? So it really is the case that the channel is more valuable than the trading, which is kind of funny, right? and before I was always just like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm more interested in the trading, right? And I'm still more interested in the trading, but when you put into it, oh, by the way, we get 4,700. I guess maybe I'll take it off. But once you realize that like there's more informational inefficiency than technical inefficiency, then it's kind of like, well, all of that time that I was putting into technical inefficiency, I can put it into the channel, And you guys are a very important part of all of this, right? Like, we've got important stuff. Well, okay, let me back up a second. Okay. I think that often used to be the case that it was like, well, we don't necessarily want to be popular. We don't necessarily want everybody to be here and to understand our edges, right? And we were keeping it to ourselves. But now what we're learning is that uh, uh, the kind of inefficiencies that we're taking advantage of and that we're going for the most, that us talking about it isn't really going to have an effect. And it's more important, like the impact that we have on society from helping people understand the markets like this, right? So I hope that you guys feel more incentive to share the channel and like help us promote it and help us get it big, because it's what we need to do now. Yeah, for this whole time I've been happy being a small channel, and I kind of wanted to keep it a small channel. I didn't want to have a stream where there's like 100 people watching, right? But it's changed. I was wrong about that. Now I understand that this people need to know this stuff. Um, like, because we as a society cannot afford to continue blowing money on stupid investments, and just pissing it away on markets that don't work very well. We need to understand how the market works, and the statistical property, the market microstructure stuff, so that we can improve them, so that we can make our system more efficient if we're going to really be competitive with other countries, and really get society to where we need to go. We need to be more efficient, right? So we need to teach people these things. We want to get big. We want to get big so that as many people as possible understand this. It's like it's changed from, "Well, I don't really want to be too big," to, well, okay, maybe, to, I am morally obligated to make this channel as big as possible. You with me? You get what I'm saying? What made you come to that conclusion? Well, I think it was a couple of things. I think first of all, the realization that there's so much informational inefficiency out there, and that's really the low hanging fruit, was a really big change for me that I made in 2021, right? So that was the first step of it, right? But where I think it really started to change me was when I started watching towards the later end of this year, especially this NFT thing. So something that you're seeing in the cryptocurrency market right now, I think it seems to me that they're spending a lot of money on advertising. Like, they're really, really trying hard to bring more money into the cryptocurrency sphere, and it's like it's not coming in. And that's why they just kind of keep skidding along the bottom. It's like they're desperate to bring new suckers in, and there's like nobody left. And think about all of that money. Like think about Bitcoin's going to have a 50% decline or whatever the deal is. Like, that's like $1 trillion. It could have gone into something worthwhile that helps society, right? And then it wasn't just that, but like over the weekend, um, or over the Christmas holiday, like I I made some good trades. Like, that was the thing, was I really had things right, and but I still kind of screwed things up. And that's when I realized that it's like the knowledge that I have is more valuable than my ability to use and execute on it. So I think part of it was another moment of humility, to realize that, like, it's kind of selfish to try and keep all of this stuff to yourself because you think you're going to make money off of it, when uh with the way that the market works and everything else like that, it's unlikely to work out that way. And what good you could have to everybody else in the meantime if you really went out and shared it the way that you should, that we can try and make markets more efficient overall and have a very positive effect for the Western world. You know, once I started thinking in those terms, then it was like, oh yeah, you've been doing this all wrong, Seth. The stream really is the valuable thing that you should be trying to build up, and you're the only one that's going to do it. Nobody else is doing this stuff. You know, like I'm not the only person that streams, but most people that stream are just, you know, well, they're doing like what I did today. It was like for entertainment purposes. I was kind of gambling, and but you're not seeing other streams where they're going to tell you about, like, there's a square root law of meta order impact, and that there are things about the way that markets are set up that lead to certain mathematical properties and create certain inefficiencies, and that the way that the market works makes it easier to arbitrage out a statistical inefficiency than it does an informational inefficiency. Because, like, that's the thing, is wouldn't it be better the other way around? Wouldn't it be better if the market really truly correctly factored in all available information, but that it was not statistically efficient, that there was maybe still some patterns that you could come in and take advantage of? That would be the optimal situation, because then as a pattern day trader, you could make money, but as an investor, you'd be getting a fair price, and the markets would be efficient, right? And the money would go to where it needs to go. But now we're realizing the money doesn't go where it needs to go because the market is not efficient. And because people don't understand that the market is not efficient, they just go along with what they think that the market wants to do, instead of coming in and saying, oh, we need to make money, but we also need to make smart decisions. And so if I'm going to invest, I should invest in places that I think are going to have the most benefit to society and make money that way, instead of pissing it on ugly cartoons. You know? When you want to teach people, you can, but sometimes you're not very pedagogical. You expect that people know a lot. You're totally right, Nasdaq trader. Like, what we do here has become so advanced that it's probably really hard for somebody that is just barely getting into trading to really understand, like, anything about what we're talking about, right? I've told you this already, but I'll say it again. What watching you has been really, yeah. Well, thank you. A lot of people have been really helpful. I think that was another thing that kind of changed things for me, was that we had kind of been talking about this, over the past year and stuff. And there was a couple of people that were regulars to the stream that were still more interested in following their, their technical analysis systems, whether they were working or not. And once we kind of shed those, and I saw how the stream changed, and I was much happier with when I get done with the stream about what we had accomplished that day, even if I wasn't making money. So it used to be that, like, man, if I don't make a trade and it's a good trade, then I just felt like shit the rest of the day. Or if I made a bad trade, I'd just feel like crap all weekend. But now I come in and it's like, I'm much more interested in how engaging the conversation was with you guys, and that I feel like we taught something, I've been to this for a while. No one talks about the market theory. Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm in a trading group and some stuff flies over people's heads. Yeah, it is. And that's where it was kind of the thing that frustrated me, and I still can't sort out, is that people don't make decisions based on logic, even when they claim that they do. And some of the people that say that their life is based on logic and proving things and stuff are often very much unknowingly basing their lives on things that are completely on faith. And it's like, no matter what you say to them, they don't care. They continue to follow that thing. I don't know how to get people off of that. That's still our great challenge. But what we got to do first is we've got to finish making these series of videos that really teaches you guys you know, that I think is thorough, because you guys that are here on stream every day, you get it. But if you're not here every day, or you just watch the one-off videos, you're not. So I want to try to really explain that stuff thoroughly. From there, we're going to go twofold, because I'm still going to be making informational videos, but some of the informational videos that I'm going to make might be a little bit more lowbrow, right? They're going to be a little more like, this is how the Federal Reserve works. This is going to be like basic info. Like I think I want to try and make videos that like my kids would understand and watch, right? Or maybe they can help me with them. I don't know. There's kind of problems with YouTube and kids. It's unfortunate. I wish they hadn't have changed that, but whatever. Otherwise, I would maybe get them involved, because I think the girls in particular, like I, oh man, I'm gonna get trapped into talking about something else. It used to be that you would spend your whole life doing the thing, and you would learn it from your parents, right? And that you're just your whole life trying to master something. And it's like, what do? I program, I trade, I do content creation. So those are the things that I can pass on to my kids, and I should try to pass them on as early as possible. And I think that the girls could be really good at the content creation. So I want to try and encourage them to do that. But it's kind of hard to, because they're, as a kid, they're not very focused in terms of like narrowing in on a piece of content and making it, you know? So I think I need to, you know, it can't just be like, okay, here you go and make your slime video, and then we'll go back and edit it. Because you go to edit it, and it's like, oh, this is a mess. You need to get them to like write a script or something. Okay, I'm yapping now. Help me out, guys. When you get, if you haven't watched this week's video about is day trading for you, make sure you go watch that video. Give it a like and a comment. That's what helps the channel out the most, is that engagement on those videos. And the earlier you put it on those videos, the more that it helps. But let's build this channel up. I think we could get to 10,000 subscribers this year, and I think we have good content. I think that we can be a much larger channel, and I think that we should think that we can do a lot of good if we do that. So let's see you guys tomorrow for the non-farms, which is going to be a total zoo, I think. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.